How you doing, Oak? Oh. Oak, you muted. Okay, so if you're trying to be funny to me, it's not working. Okay,
I was sorry.
congratulations.
I was caught a little bit off guard, but I'm here now and
Really,
I'm ready to
really, really.
cast some. Let me get some light. Oh, look at that! I'm lit
Oh,
up
you
again.
beautiful face, beautiful face. We could actually see you, Oak. That's wonderful. I'm coming into this with a question. Okay,
Yes.
can I change my prediction?
No.
God damn it!
You're trying, and I respect it, but at the
Hmm.
same time, I don't because you've been a standout CJ supporter, and I've been very happy with your very emotional take on how these teams are going to do. So, and it looks
Oh,
like we're going to jump straight into draft here.
yeah, I love that. I love that. So, are we going to see Rascal Jester double down on this strategy that they played in game one, where it wasn't about that bot lane, where it was a lot more solo lane focused, and have CJ in the past 20 minutes been able to come up with a way to counter that? Because in that game one, it did not look close.
Well, it seems like they may have thought of somewhat of an answer because we're seeing them continue this red side. What they do is they take two pivotal picks away from CJ in return for those two mid bans. So they instead of this this Ari being taken away, they take rid of the Renata, they take rid of the Tryndamere, and this gives Rascal Jester the opportunity to look towards Ari, which they do take. And that means that CJ now immediately are like, okay, well, this is how we predicted it would go. Getting recap off of one of these more priority mid lanes, maybe. And that means that maybe this time Koto can get a little bit more space in this lane.
Yeah, because we have characterized Recap as a player that doesn't really do too much damage, isn't really as active in the early game. So your last game was pretty active in the early game, and CJ also locking in that Volibear. Kind of want to see that go towards the jungle.
Wow.
And Rascal Jester rotating the Zyra blind. This feels a little bit bold.
It's also more flexibility coming up from this bot lane as well. Once again, so the Rakan secret is done once, I think. Obviously, the Soul as well may have done it once. So this is them bringing back some variety. Obviously, the Zy specifically suddenly spiked up in priority with the changes in 12.5b. Nerfs to Jinx, nerf to Aphelios means that we're seeing a little bit more space for other AD carries, and something I hope we get to see later perhaps would be the Lucian Nami, which they've already played so far.
It's a spicy deal. It's a spicy deal. I kind of want to see the Senna as well, because like just doing 2/3 of someone's health bar from a million miles away, like I enjoy looking at that for some reason. Nema going to be piloting the Leona this game. I think it's good. It's a bit more comfort for him. He didn't have a great game one. The ultimates were a little bit off. And Rascal Jester, despite how poorly that MF ended up doing in game one, still showing enough respect to it to ban it away.
I mean, MF Leona definitely sounds like a very scary lane to handle, even with all the disengage and CC disruption tools you have on Rascal Jester's board. And I mean, especially now that you're seeing as well, CJ being more comforts as well, it means that they might be playing to their more traditional style, which is Kassin being this early game facilitator. So taking off some of these more early game focused champions in tandem can really restrict that.
Yeah, I know that the AD carry pool has sort of been moving away from the pure hyper carries, or the ones that have dominated the split for so long, but I kind of just want to see an Aphelios. I kind of just want to see a Jinx. CGA showed that maybe their adaptations aren't quite as on board as they would like, so stick to something fairly standard. Stick to the stuff that was working for you in the middle of the split when they went on that sort of big streak of strong form. I think they actually went... I think they won like 9 in 8 games, only losing to DFM in that period of time. So definitely a team that can be strong, and I love the Aphelios here.
Yeah, I think you can still slot it in certain situations. It slots in so well here. Combining that Moonlight Vigil with the Solar Flare is a classic kind of initial pick engage that you can be looking towards. Combine that with the laning strength that these two have in this 2v2. It means especially pre-6, because then suddenly he has a lane he can interact with. Isn't that fun?
It's brilliant. You've got proactivity where you need it. I think that the Zyra is probably going to be a good answer to that. Like you've already said, these champions quite flexible, can move around a lot. And how do you imagine you're going to be going for the Jarvan this time around? A bit more of these engaged, focused junglers, and something that it feels like it fits into his wheelhouse very, very well.
Yeah, something that's also slotted in towards the end of Jinx Aphelios anyway, very often, because even with Gale Force being picked up, this champion, you bring in that Cataclysm and they cannot move if they don't have Flash. Combine that with a lot of follow-up CC from Rascal Jester, it just flows really well with their tools, because you can either play through Secret or Recap to find the initial pick and use the Jarvan in tandem with that, or you can find the real big engage and then use the individual pick tools from Rascal Jester to get damage on key members. You combine that with the Renekton, which is just a very stable pickup for Ino, and also a key takeaway from that.
Yeah, has been his most played champion this split, and has been something that CG have just relied on to be that strong laner up in the top side, to be a bit of a meatball when you get into these team fights, to buy space for Kaito, and particularly Hybrid to get stuff done. Honestly, Oak, it feels like after the last trip to Nando's, where these guys went for very hot, we're kind of on a lemon and herb vibe at the moment, because these conditions feel a lot more standard. Yeah,
this is a white man's spice at the moment in terms of composition. Really not much to take away from this. And by and large, I see Rascal Jesters comp, and I think this is winning for me personally. I think there are some very scary points for CJ to be looking towards, but this plays really into what Rascal Jesters have found so much success on in the second half of the split, in the second and third round robin. Specifically, this Ari is going to be key for me here. Recap, bringing it back in again after it being banned in game 1. And I think this champion is incredibly good to slot in early in draft. They take best use of it by pairing it up with other key engages. I think the Rakan is a really, really big one, because Ari and Rakan play so well together to just dash forward over and over again, or dash away. So much flexibility within that too. And that means that Secret, I want to see him on board. If you can pair up these two players together, you can have so much influence in these already what should be pretty neutral or winning side lanes.
Yeah, Ari and Rakan just feel like mobility creep incarnate. It's just
rework Ari.
And something key about this Ari as well. Recap currently 6-0 on the champion. It is a lot more of that sort of facilitator playstyle, whilst still being able to pump out a fair bit of damage. And the key thing for me is, we've seen Rascal Jester playing non-standard. We've seen them playing a bit more around these solo lanes and deprioritizing that bot side. This is a lot more standard from them, a lot more bot lane focused. If they also smash this game, then coming into game 3, I am very, very worried for CGA, because at that point, it feels like you lose whatever way Rascal Jesters are going to go for it. We are on to the Rift now. We'll have to see if CGA can beat Rascal Jester when they are playing standard and type this series at 1-1, or if Rascal Jester can put themselves towards an early match point.
Absolutely, and you mentioned it there. Both teams are now playing standard, but last game, even with the new comp coming up from CGA, we saw some flubs both in choice picks as well as itemization. Specifically Nap, who we attributed as one of the stronger members on CJ, especially being this facilitator for early game on these counter picks. Now he's been given that again, but it's not the volley bear this time. It's not that AP volley bear. It's something a lot more traditional to the LJL, and it's in this Gnar. Now, not really super lane focused, and I think that's, if anything, playing towards CJ should be looking towards right now.
Yeah. Kind of just want that stability. Keep it nice and cool in the top side. Keep it nice and cool in the mid lane. Permagank bot lane. Make things happen. And I'm glad that we're actually highlighting these junglers, because I believe we've got a little bit of a graphic that we're going to be able to show you fairly soon. Because Hachimetra and Kassin, it feels like they're very different players, right? Their goals for how they want to play the game, Oak, couldn't be more different from each other, in my opinion.
Absolutely. I think we already talked about it in game 1, but Hachimetra really plays defensively, and it gets perfectly highlighted here. You can see specifically in this key stat, wards third in wards cleared per minute, which is a really important stat when you're trying to introduce these kinds of, people want to play around vision to do aggressive plays. Hachimetra's on point to stop that, and combine that with a lot of what he does is just neutral stancing. He plays close to his lanes and sits there and waits for action to happen. You look at the opposite side and see Kassin instead, who is a very proactive jungler. This is why he hit third in our all-pro ranking, and this is shown in his wards per minute. He's dropping wards constantly. He likes to be repeatedly putting pinks down to create these proactive vision points for his team to play through and for himself to play through as well.
And it's nice to see that ward stat a little bit high, because one of the things that characterized Kassin in summer is that he would go for these aggressive plays, but he wouldn't really have the information to back them up, and that made them a little bit less reliable than they otherwise would be. I think that he still has those games where it's less Cas win and a bit more Kasint, but consistency has been coming there, and we're going to need to see it in a big game because he's not one of these players that has a lot of experience in the playoffs. Hachimecha, obviously someone that has been around for ages, and in these higher pressure scenarios, I feel like maybe a cooler head can prevail.
Yeah, still can't believe he's 29. Very tenured
That's
player
mad.
in the
That's
LJL.
mad.
It is crazy, and yeah, hopefully this will come to his head as a little bit of a pause comes out. So there's probably going to be some technical issues, and it gives us a little bit of time to look at how the neutral state has been presented so far, and what we kind of expected. Pretty bog standard overall. The big thing is that Soul and Secret managed to find an earlier reset, get 2 pinks on board, as well as that early tier for the Xayah, which means we're definitely seeing this penetration Xayah come in. People have been talking about the inklings for maybe this penetration Xayah combination where you got Lord Doms and the Collectors, but with that tier, probably not going to be happening.
Yeah, a bit more lethality, a bit more sort of early game focused. And it's a cool thing that you can do on Xayah because these components are a bit more effective on her. You can go for these sort of like shove and base, shove and base, shove and base, which means that there are less opportunities theoretically for Kassin to gank you because you're spending less time in lane. But of course, in order to get those resets, you do need to extend quite high. So if Kassin's able to get his jungle timings, his gank timings on lock, maybe there are angles for him to play around in the bot side.
Yeah, it's weird. That reminds me of another AD carry that recently got nerfed that used to do the exact same thing. Crazy. Yeah, this Xayah is lane stability in a nutshell. And it really is why it's been slotted in earlier in drafts, replacing those Jinx and those Aphelioses, which have very commonly been slotted in. Jinx now, with those nerfs in 12.5b, mana gets knocked all the way down, means that level 4 shove and reset point doesn't really exist anymore. Xayah can still do that. We see it here. And also, as you mentioned, could do it at any point in the laning phase. A very aggressive champion coming in, the Q max combined with Airy, really looking towards creating CS deficit by repeatedly shove-ins, which is actually what they might be looking to replicate from game 1 as well. The Caitlyn performed a very similar role, and it was really off the back of Secret being relatively put in this lane. He stayed within this lane boundaries. Now this is a different role that he might be playing within this game because we're seeing him on the Rakan now, but we don't. I think we had a look at the stats yesterday and we saw that actually Secret spends a lot of time in the spot side.
Yeah. And I mean, I think there's a pretty good person that you're spending that time alongside, right? Soul is not a bad player by any means. And so often the discussions around Soul and Secret are about them as a duo, about as a bot lane that works together and uses each other's strengths to push advantages for the team. And I like that you actually highlighted Secret because I think looking towards that game 1, one of the things that we spoke about sort of off air was that the difference in the support play, it felt pretty substantial, right? Nema was missing a lot of these encores. They weren't really landing onto the key targets a lot of the time, but some of those hostile takeovers from Secret were absolutely pixel perfect.
Yeah, and I think this has been something that's actually has created this inconsistency within CJ is when Secret has been online for the entire second and third round robin, but Nema's a bit more of a flickery light source. I'm trying to see really if he gets online in this series at all, because that's really been where this team has played best. I was watching CJ's games backs and I saw their first game against Rascal Jester. And he did something incredible from Nema, which was he shoved in bot side, got a reset, walked through mid, shoved in mid wave, and then pulled his mid laner down bot side, and they got the first trade. And I was like, that's crazy. This is the kind of setup we want to see from this player.
Yeah, get active on the map, start making things happen, and build that momentum. Because I feel like CGL are a bit of a momentum team. When they're winning, it looks really good, and all the decisions that they're making seem a lot more clear. But when they are on this back foot, a little bit less decisive, a little bit less able to execute in quite the way that you would like. We're talking about Secret getting out onto the map with these roams, grand entrance. Forces the flash away from Kaito, who will get hit with the charm and a fair bit of damage back as well. But we're already seeing that, Oak.
Absolutely. And hopefully this doesn't mean that Soul will be burning anything in return. When we see these supports often get extended roam timers on map, it eventually leads into, okay, Soul's now got a wave shoved into him. Is any dive option possible? And the Xayah definitely helps to mitigate that.
Yeah.
But with Kassin having that Stormbringer, I think that's what the ultimate's called, it means that there's the option to disable that turret and play these extended dives out, and that could really hurt Soul if Secret does decide to play towards mid side, which I mean, Recap was an excellent facilitator in the early game to move towards bot side. Maybe we see that in return from Secret moving towards this mid lane.
A little bit of an inversion, a little bit of a swap round as roles as we jump back to this top side. Bit of a quieter matchup, obviously. Nara Necton, how many times have we seen that Oak? Not expecting too much action to come down, but
surprisingly with these players, it's been on the opposite end. We've seen actually Napa's 5 games on the Renekton thus far, the split. Something I've actually been not a very big fan of, but in return, I know been very active. Big flash comes in,
getting flashed onto in the mid side.
Okay,
forced to burn that summoner himself. I love that by Kassin. Just take the summoner spell. That means that your setup on the next gank is so much easier. Nema looking for an engage, but it's getting turned around to the hybrid, who's forced to cleanse and flash away, but will still go down. First blood secured by Secret. Kassin gonna bail out Nema as Hachimetra is here as well. No more aggression gonna occur, but 2v2 kill in the bot lane.
And you want to see what it leads to. Not only are they going to be able to get this wave, shove it in, and choke out. Remember, Cole start from hybrid, or a Cole means that he saw that tier. He's like, I'm going to get something in return. That gets limited. CS and XP in general gets limited. And I was hoping that Rascal Jester would look towards his Drake Swarm. We get to see it play out here. And the big thing is, look at this Rakan W just picking off. Combine that with the burst, it means that, I mean, hybrid, even with the cleanse to stop the ignite healing, stop the ignite from doing damage. Secret just knows he has damage. There's no response and gets that first blood there. Very well done.
And that doesn't bode well for me because that was a fight that CJ initiated. That was Nema going forward thinking, oh, we've got a pick here, but really underestimated the power that the Zyrakan can have in the early game. And hybrid going down is not how this game wanted to start for CGA. Recap's going to ult forward. They've actually got a potential catch on
it's a big charm.
and it is just too easy. Secret with a double kill.
And it's Rascal Jesters have been listening to us because Secret does exactly what we were hoping Nema would be doing. And in turn, this 3-man comes in and picks off Kassin in what we thought would be in a fairly innocuous place. But Kassin burned that flash earlier to get the flash out of Recap. Well, unfortunately, he's not level 6 yet. Recap is. They use that Spirit Rush to secure that kill with a very well-timed charm and lead straight into this Drake as well. Rascal Jesters, once again, early game is going towards them.
And we were talking about this, like, if Rascal Jester can continue to show these strong early games, that's really sort of their one big glaring weakness, their one weak point that we felt like that teams could attack them in these playoff bracket. If their early games have been fixed, if they've got a lot more of this proactivity, which based on what I'm currently seeing is definitely the case, then bodes well for them as we get into those later stages. XP difference not too substantial in the solo lanes, and bot lane is massively favouring Solvo.
Yeah, I feel really bad for both Nema and Hybrid here, as they've been really choked out this lane.
Oh no.
And when that with Kassin also not being on the map, it means that, okay, so we're seeing some proactive play from CGA as they look towards this Herald in that return trade. And now Rascal just have not rotated their bot lane up yet, but they are doing so now. So it's a very strict timer for CJ to be looking towards this before the numbers of Rascal Jester can converge.
And the thing is, CJ took both Heralds in the previous game. They weren't able to pick up the second one, but it's where the priority has been. Nema looking for an engage onto Hachimetra, who isn't able to flag and drag away. And maybe this is actually a good fight for CGA. Secret going in, getting a double knockup there. His Nappy's going to be taken out at the start of the fight. Eno culls him down. Kassin doesn't have a flash to get out of this one. The feathers are going to be pulled back, but not deal too much damage. In goes Hachimetra with the Cataclysm. It's a slow-paced fight, but it's one that favours Rascal Jester in the end. The Ignite won't even take him out. Another clean play.
Absolutely. And Rascal Jester's, remember, this comp is very forward-walking. Even with Hachimetra having to play in deficit there, he has to flash out of the fight. We think, oh, okay, this could be a chance for CJ to win. But they get that 5-man unit, and we already talked about how strong they are past that 15-minute mark when they get their team together. Well, they bring it in early instead, and they still get to flex those muscles, and we get to see it specifically here. So Hachimetra forced to flash out, and this is really where we think, okay, maybe CJ can start this fight on a potentially positive stance. But unfortunately, not anywhere near Mega, and this means he's one of the first to be picked up in this fight. The rest of CJ left scrambling, and then combine that with this fantastic Cataclysm right at the end. Immediately pick off Kaito, who remembers the highest XP right now at this point in the game. He is probably the strongest overall member for this team. Picked off in second. It means the rest of CJ are playing to run away, and they cannot do so against this comp.
And while CJ did get that Herald, the gold value of those kills on the backside is probably going to outstrip anything that they can get with it. So over prioritizing that objective and ending up in a bad fight. Still 10 minutes. It's only just 10 minutes into the game, but we've got this massive gold lead accrued by Rascal Jesters. And the thing is, they are continuing to snowball. They are continuing to look to these fights. What do you do now if you are CJ? Because you lost that first game pretty handedly. It's not looking great for you in this game too. How do you attack this matchup?
I mean, it's not like you lack scaling options. We look at CJ, and whilst we're going, okay, well, Rascal Jester definitely has some scaling opportunities. You have a traditional AD carry, and that always benefits you past these 4 items. It's just getting to that stage combined with this rise, and the big thing there is finding the right timings to trade these objectives. We saw there CJ too late on the Herald, and in turn that leads to those kills being given over in the deficit they've been put themselves in. It may continue here because Sin is caught out.
Still has the flash, still has no ultimate, and no hope of getting out. That was just way too much damage, way too quickly. Can't react to that. And again, another pick for Rascal Jester.
And that's because Hachimecha found an early reset and is the first person on board to have a mythic. Gore Drinker already picked up 11 minutes into the game. So he's very happy with how the game state's been so far and is trying to really abuse that right now. Remember, Rascal Jester, they picked up 1 player, and now they've opted in towards this lane swap. Now, I wouldn't be surprised to see, hopefully at least, Soul get this wave shove in, immediately reset towards this Drake, because they know that they have control of the game at the moment. I want to see them continue that as just crossing very aggressively. Reminder, Kaito is on a reset at the moment, so Hachimecha can play aggro if he needs to.
Yeah, and sort of the thing that he does, we talked about him being a defensive player. There is the more aggressive side of that as well, walking into the enemy jungle, acting as sort of like a living ward, making sure that you scout out where the enemy jungler is so that your lanes aren't going to be falling too far behind. Reset comes through for Soul and Secret. I imagine they're going to be making a beeline towards that Drake.
Yeah, but this J4 Ari combo has actually been incredibly proactive yet again, specifically Hachimecha through this Jarvan. It's different. You've seen him on a lot of Poppy, a lot of Volibear. These champions that, whilst definitely having early game play, they revolve around more of these team fighting aspects, these skirmishing aspects, and Hachimecha instead has just been on the ball. We're just EQing in, repeatedly finding these engages. The Soul's
I don't know, Nema's here.
3 people.
Soul could get caught out. He's going to be forced to cleanse. As Secret finds the engage off onto Hybrid. Solar Flare uses. Recap is going to be ulting into the fight as well. There is nowhere for Hybrid to go as he's taken out right at the beginning of the fight. Stormbringer back from Kassin to buy a second at a time, but he's still locked in the Cataclysm. Rascal Jesters are looking so damn impressive.
They're putting on a show here at this point, repeatedly playing through their offensive capabilities to absolute perfection. They find 3 more kills. They're going to get 2 more places to Soul. They didn't even need that bot lane swap. With those 2 kills being picked up, they can also look towards this dragon anyway. And in fact, they might just keep looking to pump on plates, as many places as possible to this comp to really hit mid game strong.
And again, whilst I think that Soul has been a bit more involved in this game, it's not him that's being the primary carry. It's a bit more focused on Recap at the moment. It's a bit more focused on this Jarvan, actually, who has become incredibly strong. CJ, they thought they got the drop on Soul here. They thought that they'd be able to find the fight, but the way that Rascal Jester responds is just too clean.
Yeah, Secret specifically on this, every time he brings out something new, we go, okay, well, is this something he can continue to bring on the board at the highest level? And he says, yes, absolutely, I can do this. And combine that with just picking picks that work so well with the lane in isolation and then carrying that forward into mid-game. So important. I think we saw SoftBank Hawk struggle with this a little bit, with specifically Reiner, who's also picked up this Rakan. And whilst doing very well in the early game, once mid-game comes, the engages come lacking. Secret has, this game so far, touch wood, done a fantastic job of continuing to play aggressively and finding these picks.
I don't think you need to touch wood on the he's played good statement. Because
I don't want to cast this curse anybody.
I think there are very few people that would dispute that Secret has had a phenomenal game, phenomenal series so far, as have the whole of Rascal Jester. CGA, though, gonna try and respond, gonna try and pick up this Drake to get a little bit of power, deny that as a potential win condition for Rascal Jester, that Soul point, which would have been coming online very, very quickly, by the way, but they are more than happy to trade it for this Rift Herald.
Yeah, and this comes in tandem with bounties being unlocked on the map. 5k gold deficit at 15 minutes means bounties are now online for these first turrets, and top lane turret specifically is very low. So CGA could maybe claw back a little bit of that gold that's been stolen away from them, and look towards this top lane tier 1. Now, I just don't know if they're going to ever have the numbers to throw towards it, because now Sol and Recap really flexing their strength and trying to use their individual pick tools in tandem with Hachimecha and Secret, just starting aggressively to go, okay, if a charm hits, can we take this fight?
Well, not just stancing aggressively, just throwing out those grand entrances willy-nilly, and CJ not really in a position. Are you laughing at willy-nilly? Come on.
No, I'm laughing at the fact that CGA can't really do anything.
No, yeah, they
Even
can't.
If
They can't.
Exactly your point.
If you're not laughing, you are crying right now.
Yeah.
If you're a CGA fan, and I'm doing a lot of laughing because Rascal Jester have just come out so much quicker than we expected them to in the early game. They've constantly looked for these fights, and even when it's CGA starting them, it's getting turned around. CGA have only got 2 kills so far in this entire series, I believe.
Oh,
and that's not a good look for a team that we said needed to get stuff done in the early game.
Absolutely. And it's been off a bit of desyncing from the junglers and the laners. I think when we saw the Aphelios and the Leona coming together, we thought, okay, fantastic. This is an early get lane that you can play towards on this volley bearers.
Oh no.
We see the desync continue as Kassin gets picked off, has to use the ulti and still gets picked off by that Cataclysm, and it's really starting to show here. You mentioned earlier that Kassin has occasionally started to make more prior plays without vision really being on point here. Now look at the vision scattered for CGA at the moment. A couple of trinkets in top side. Pinks not online for anybody at the moment, even though we see them in inventory. In return, Rascal Jester very aggressively stance vision up towards the edge of the top side jungle. This means that they're going to see, combined with these repeated wave shoves, they get to see where every member of CJ are. They rotate to the jungle, they know, which means they know Kassin's there in isolation because they see the rest of the laners catching those waves in top and mid side, and they can repeatedly make these picks. And it's showing this desync from Kassin and Hybrid to Kassin and Nema, who weren't able to find early game success, and now mid game, even with the Solar Flare and all the other pick tools they have, it can't do anything proactively.
And if you'd asked me before this game, who are my sort of 2 key members on CJ, it's Kassin and Hybrid, and neither of them has really been able to show up in the way that we wanted to see them this series. I know currently getting chased down, 3 members of CJ going to be here for this one, but Secret is around as well. Can the Renekton buy enough time? Double dice away! And they don't even get the kill.
And this is something we saw Ino doing in game 1 as well on the Tryndamere. I'm having a little bit of deja vu because it's the same thing as well. He pulls so much pressure when he's actually playing just for net neutrality. He is there to be a HP bar, a resource for this team in tandem with the pressure he's able to pump out to force CGA to go, okay, we have to do something against this guy, because we can't do anything against the rest of Rascal Jester, and he's performing that role to exception. And actually, this is a role that I think Nap did really well in the regular season.
Yeah, but you can't really absorb that pressure, play that weak side, if the rest of your team is absorbing the pressure, and not so much absorbing the pressure as the pressure is going onto them, and it's like it's like a hydraulic press. Honestly, that's what it feels like watching this game right now, because CGA, it doesn't feel like they can push back at any point. And Rascal Jester can just make plays with impunity. They can play the game exactly that they want. Maybe it's snowballing a little bit slower because they aren't going to have those big objectives online quite as early, because CJ were able to take away that Drake. But it's still another impressive performance from Rascal Jester. It's still CJ not really contesting them. They haven't even got a kill. And I think you're already thinking about game 3 if you're CGA, and I don't think those are positive thoughts.
Absolutely not. I think there are some ways for CJ to maybe find a return in this game. Now, 7k gold deficit at 19 minutes it's rather substantial middle court, but there are still ways to find a comeback. And I think if you look at Rascal Jester's comp as a whole, especially the bot side, very, very squishy. And just like game 1, where we mentioned that CJ still have these pick tools. We saw it earlier against Ino, where that Solar Flare was thrown out to force Ino's flash. Well, you can do the same against Secret. You can do the same against Soul. You can force these summoners, repeatedly use these ultimates in more aggressive points of the game when you really know for sure you have the vision to support that. and that could potentially lay up for their first kill of the game.
But then the question becomes, if you're burning those cooldowns in a sort of proactive manner to try and get yourself micro advantages that you're then going to recapitalize on, I feel like Rascal Jester has just kind of been better than that. We saw that one of the first kills they got onto Kassin was because he blew a flash, trading that with recap slash in the mid side, and then he was getting punished for that. So I agree with you, that's what CJ need to do, but I'm also worried that Rascal Jester can also engage into that style of gameplay and honestly just do it better. Drake going to be the focus now for Rascal Jesters. They're not going to be getting towards that soul too quickly, but additional power, a little bit of attack speed, a little bit of ability haste, advantages that you're going to use to press further forward.
Yeah, everybody loves this soul, right? I mean, not just the soul, the Drake in general. I think Hextech Drake is probably the most popular Drake in terms of its actual... It just gives stats that everybody likes. It's an everybody's dragon, you know?
The people's Drake.
Yeah, the people's Drake, exactly. And I think this might have been a little strat from Rascal Jester. They gave over that Cloud Drake and still managed to hit second Drake at 20 minutes, which means they still had that win con coming in on that 30-minute time, and it's going to be right in time for a potential first Baron for this.
How does Kassin... How is that not spot that ward?
Oh, that's so the pink is getting clipped by the wall there, so it doesn't show, and yeah.
That's
You'll be careful when you're placing your pinks.
Behind already,
so,
you don't want that.
Oh, so maybe a pick comes onto Nema. Nothing gonna result. And do you know how you fix that? You put the ward right on the top of that brush, and then it sees both angles.
Ah.
Yeah, a little bit of vision advice for you. Maybe Kassin can listen
I
to that one.
appreciate that. It feels like it should just work. Like, I'm not gonna lie, I'm not a game designer, but like,
you think it should
feels
just
like
work?
It should just work.
You think vision should see through walls? A little bit of X-ray.
I mean, yeah, not okay. Too bad about that one.
Brilliant. Oh, Kaito is too aggressive.
Yeah, he's dead here.
Going to come out. Oh, shouldn't have said anything. If you didn't say anything, he wouldn't have died.
He's burnt the flash, so he's going to be dead in like 2 minutes.
If there's anything to tell for, because Rascal Jester have,
hybrids?
You mentioned it earlier, trading there, and we're seeing hybrid getting a little bit more proactive.
Don't talk about it. Don't talk about the ult.
Did he use the Moonlight Vigil?
There was a solar flare. We don't talk about it. Anyway, Rascal Jester doing the Baron. CJ not really in a position to contest with Kassin down on the bot side, and it feels like we're going to be getting into game 3 sooner rather than later, Oak.
Yeah, Rascal Jester have been really on point with using this Baron very, very aggressively with the strength of their laners to find initial picks and then use one pick to rotate into an inhib and then rotate that inhib into more. They play the Barons extremely cleanly, and it's something I'm a big fan of personally. So I'm hoping, especially with the laners that they set up, with this Sire and the Ahri, that can both hit one CC tool that can catalyze into more pickoff points. As Kassin he's starting aggressively, but I think the rest of the Rascal Jesters are here and they want this fight. Hatchamech is on a big flank.
They are going for it. This is going to end up being a 4v4 potentially, or maybe CGA members are going to fall before support can even get there. Already one dead. Make that two as Recap is going to take out Hybrid. Nap is going to be taken down on the other side of the fight as Nema is 1v1ing Hatchamecha, but he's not going to win that one. Recap comes over, but the jungler still secures the kill. That's 3 picked, and that means that Rascal Jester are going to have a lot of time to push with this Baron.
And a fantastic punish of such a minor mistake. It was really showing the gold lead and how brute force Rascal Jesters can be. Kassin oversteps. He's trying to use that ping to get an initial pick, but Rascal Jesters know they have the numbers on board and that Soul does not die quick enough with the ultimate available to make any pick from CJ worth it. And so they go, okay, cool, we can play the long game. They use that Hextech gate to flank through and find that pick. Fantastic. In here picks off, and this is the same time Iono's just been chilling in topside, doing the same thing that he's been doing all series so far. And once again, CJ are falling for it. They throw 3 members down here, and it means that Rascal just have the free space to get this mid-wave shove in too and look towards second in here with this Baron. They're doing it again, Middlecott.
This is just absolutely brilliant. You so rarely see LJL teams play around waves like this where they can get that bot shoved in, get that mid shoved in, and then still have some presence in the top side. Rascal Jester are looking like a very, very scary team at the moment, and CGA Looking terrified, honestly. That Solar Flare cleansed away from by Soul, so that's one tool down. That's one defensive option that Rascal Jester aren't going to have in their pocket, but you're getting triple in here at 24 minutes. Snap looking for an engage, but isn't going to be able to find it as Soul goes into the feathers and pulls them back. Nema now drop low on the front line. He's going to be taken out as Hybrid. Gale forcing forward, but not able to find it. That means that Secret finds the engage. That Hatchet Mecha finds the engage. The Recap finds the kill, and the Rascal Jesters are going to find the second game of this series.
And that was a split fight for Rascal Jesters as well. Two members had used that Hextech Gate to get out. A 3v5 by and large from Rascal Jesters, but it doesn't matter. The kill lead's there. The flash charm is there as well. Recap. Fantastic performance this series thus far in tandem with everybody else on the team who has done such a good job of showing how strong this team really is in the latter half of this tournament. Two absolute just shows of I'm lost for words in terms of how impressive Rascal Jester have looked so far, and also how different they looked from regular season. Being so proactive on the board, repeatedly recap as well. Man, I'd love to see this.
RMC is going to feel very, very called out right now. Like, if he wasn't after game 1, definitely will be after game 2, because Ari, lower damage pick than the Syndra, not as much early pressure, but the way that Recap was utilizing it, dashing forward, finding all these key charms, was so aggressive, it was so impressive, exactly what you want to be doing on that champion.
And Hatchet Mecha too. I think he knew that Soul and Secret, once again, established themselves as the stronger 2v2 in this game. And Hatchet Mecha goes, okay, cool, brilliant. The rest of my team is set up for picks. We're going to play through the Ari, and he repeatedly aggresses, playing so far forward because they know they have the follow-up from what we mentioned at the start of the game. Spirit Rush combined with this Rakan, just go forward. The fight might not be good. Just keep going forwards, and it works so well. My God.
Yeah. You don't expect games to go this one-sided. I was coming in with a little bit of coping, the 3-2 position, a little bit tongue-in-cheek in favor of CJ, but
there's no way CJ win this one after a 2-0 deficit.
You call in the 3-0 sweep?
No, I think CJ will take the next game, and then a Rascal Jester will then win, so I get my 3-1 vote correctly.
Married to your prediction, I see. Willing for things to go a little bit awry just as long as you're right. Well, that's absolutely perfectly fine, Oak. My predictions are already absolutely in the mud. Maybe there is a reverse sweep incoming, but doesn't look particularly likely right now. We're going to be jumping to a short break. After that, the Analyst desk are going to be breaking that game down in a little bit more detail. Don't go anywhere.
We're back, and I'm still looking for CGA. Where are they? They're not turning up today, clearly, and it has led to some big problems in this series. Maybe the Crest is Jin's today, and maybe they're going for a dramatic turnaround. They're looking for the reverse sweep, but I don't know. That's not how it feels. Kashka, do you feel like maybe we get a reverse sweep, or is it just all Rascal Jesters today?
I was hesitant to call it Rascal Jesters after game one, and now I am fairly confident that it should be Rascal Jesters taking the series. I will not go as far as to say they will 3-0, but let's be honest, I am kind of coping here. I just want to see one game where CGA win. I'm not gonna give them more than that, and even that is a stretch.
Yeah, I'd agree. I predicted a 3-1, so I'm hoping that CGA can turn it. But after that game, I think CGA have developed severe chorophobia at this point, because the Rascal Jesters, they're incredibly scary. This is not the Rascal Jesters we saw in the regular season. Mabinogi was saying that he was preparing for these games, and these are the teams that showed up. I'm with you, Mabinogi. I've been casting, all my reads are wrong right now. I don't even know where to start right now with this Rascal Jesters team.
I at least predicted 3-0, so I'm feeling pretty confident. I wasn't. I mean, you basically could have called it one and done because CGA is just at this point. What? It's going to be an actual perfect game next, or what? Just give up. It feels like.
I will say everyone's predictions are actually still intact. Even Middlecott's, which was 3-2 to CGA. So everyone is still in the race. But let's get into pick and bans. We got the screenshot for you guys at home. Let's bring this one up. Obviously, a bit of a switch up there. We saw the Tryndamere, the Renata, the Trundle all banned away from CGA. We saw Zaya, Rakan coming through, and we got the return of Renekton Nah. But admittedly, the wrong way around to what I would have expected. But RMC, do you feel like it was a better drafting phase for CGA?
Yeah. Yes, I did. I actually liked CGA's draft. I thought both teams drafted. This was more what I expected from both of these teams, with the exception of the Renekton Nah, which I thought should be flipped for both these teams. But CGA had what they wanted. They had Kaito on a scaling sort of champion who could sit back in lane. They had Hybrid on Aphelios who has a chance to carry. Nema on that comfortable Leona here. It's everything they wanted. So again, it comes down to the same problem they had in game one, which was just execution and trying to use their comp properly. We didn't see Nema get kills. We didn't see the strong roaming. We didn't see the ganks coming through from Kassin, and it just kind of fell apart. They never hit their scaling point.
Yeah, Mabinogi, obviously we talked a lot about what not to pick into Tryndamere and how they didn't draft too well for CGA. Are you a little bit happier with this draft, or do you still think there were big glaring issues?
I think I can definitely point to where I would say you could improve the draft, but overall, that's a very comfortable, fine draft. There's no real big glaring problems I see with it outside Nah, but that's a personal gripe. Yeah, no, I don't see an issue. There's no reason you should be getting clapped that badly on draft alone. So that is a big problem because that means all your issues are in server.
Yeah, now, I want to talk about early game quickly. So last game we talked about they had a 3k gold lead at 17 minutes to the Rascal Jesters. This time around, they had a 3k gold lead at 9 minutes, and that was led up to a 6k gold lead at 17 minutes. Kashka, we've talked about the picks. Volibear was the pick in the jungle this time around. Early game tempo, though, for Kassin feels like it's not really there.
It really isn't. I mean, it almost feels to me like Rascal Jester, they know what Kassin is doing. We have seen the exact same clear from Hachimecha both games. Topside to both side missing, Krugs getting 2 scuttles, and Kassin can't do anything. It almost, answers the question we had at the beginning of the day. Why did Rascal Jester pick CGA? Well, because they know how this team plays. They are literally reading Kassin like a book.
Yeah, indeed. And talking about reading, obviously, reading the map always important for most roles, jungle and support specifically, but Secret is doing it fantastically. RMC, I know you got a clip of the first blood. Let's bring that one up and just talk to me about Secret.
Yeah, right now, this series is looking a bit like a Secret diff here, Jerio. And Secret, not only is he roaming faster, getting to the lanes, getting to the ganks quicker, but in lane as well here. Just so good. I mean, if we have that clip of First Blood, I'd love to see it because that was Secret just turning the tides. It was, that JoJo meme of, oh, you're approaching me? Like, Nema goes in and Secret's just like, oh wait, Leona is not with Aphelios anymore. We turn this, and this is just a solo 2v2. If you can do this in lane and you can out roam, that's why we're feeling such a big support diff.
Yeah, it doesn't feel absolutely massive. And Mabinogi, we kind of had question marks about Nema. I know that you had them as your potential mess for today. Is it kind of coming true? Are they just being support gapped?
Kind of, yeah. We saw in game one they were missing pretty much all the Seraphine ultimates, which is you can't miss all of them. That's just terrible. And then on this one, completely invisible on the Leona. There was that one blatantly horrific whiff of the solar flare somewhere around the Baron, but that doesn't even matter because just was not able to find anything. Was not able to find any picks. The one attempt was really that Zenith Blade that completely got turned around by Secret.
Yeah, and Secret had a fantastic game. In 18 out of the 19 kills the Rascal Jesters put on the board, and it's just a really good performance for Secret. Now, we talked a little bit about blue side, red side. Kashka, are you surprised that Rascal Jesters has been on blue side?
I mean, given the statistics, maybe a bit, 2 games in a row now, but the first picks that they have gone for have been impactful. First game, I believe that was the Trinamir, and second game, if someone can quickly remind me what that was, because...
Ari.
I mean, yeah, recap, maybe not necessarily the front and center stage, but also a very useful, champion in terms of finding picks, getting priority. So Rascal Jesters have kind of found a new groove here on the blue side, and, why fix something that's not broken?
Yeah, and we definitely talked about their team fight prowess. It's kind of what we expected from Rascal Jesters, and RMC, you have the Herald fight clipped, and I think we should just bring that one up and let's talk about it.
Yeah, and it feels like this is just how Rascal Jesters have been playing the 2 games. Get a lead bot side, and then one big early objective fight, and suddenly they are just unstoppable. And this fight, it's worth noting that we see both Soul and Secret actually stay bot side to get an extra plate. And CGA, this is a risky endeavor by them. They rotate people up early. They're in full vision. And at first it looks good because, hey, we've got Herald. We've got priority in that. Hey, we find the pick on Hachamecha, their jungler with Smite. The problem comes that they were split on the call there. Unfortunately, Hybrid and Kassin stayed to kill Herald, and because of that, they don't kill Hachamecha, they don't kill anyone, and then Rascal Jesters collapses with the full force here. You can see they're just trying to disengage CGA. Sure, you get the Herald, but you lost multiple members on the back end of this, and like they said on the desk, or on the caster desk there, Middlecon Oak were saying, it's not worth it. Those kills don't transfer over, and even worse, the pressure that's generated from this gets the side of Rascal Jesters plates as well. So ultimately, it feels like CGA are getting baited a little bit into these objectives, and the price of these objectives, it's just too high for them to pay.
Yeah, Rascal Jesters are popping up like a jack in the box. Mabinogi, looking forward to game 3. What is the CGA adaptation for them to potentially bring this game back into their control?
Balls to the wall, hyper aggression, cheese it. Go all in. Level 2 ganks, Twitch jungle, why not? Anything you want. Just try and get the cheese going, crack open a lead somewhere and snowball that lead as hard as you can. That's all I see left for you, because you're playing out slow and steady is not working for you. You are getting matched and destroyed all over the map.
Yeah, it is definitely pretty strong. And I don't know if Rascal Jesters have been watching it, but they are clearly everywhere like Pennywise, and they're striking fear into CGA's hearts. But we're going to see if that continues into game 3. Middlecott, Oak, take us back into game.